I'm going to go off the record here and say that if there's anything else you think of, we'll certainly entertain it. But we're going to need a keyboard for that Family Life Center. We're going to need a sound system for the Family Life Center. We're going to need a projection system for that Family Life Center. Decorative acoustical tiles are going to be necessary if we have concerts and programs in there. The kitchen appliances are going to be necessary, obviously. Kitchen cabinets have already been mentioned. The furniture in the foyer, the recreation equipment for the facility, basketball goals and things like that. New chairs and tables, I suspect, are going to be in order, so we put that down here. The furnishings for that conference room, there's going to have to be furniture in there as well. And then the landscaping when we get through. So all of these are opportunities that if you have interest and you want to specify that your money went for a specific item like this, then this is the appropriate avenue that you can do that with. One important point here is that you'll be recognized in the book. There'll be no plaques, because these are depreciable items, obviously. So over time, appliances are going to wear out, things like that. So it would have to be replaced. That's why there's nothing fixed to the actual item, because once it's replaced. However, the book will be there forever. So recognizing the people. And again, this program is for someone who wants to designate, and the book itself is going to be there for those who wish to be recognized for it. If you want to give to these items specifically, but remain anonymous, you have that option as well. Any questions?
I understand that charities giving opportunities will be new money, not money that has already been given.
Yes, ma'am. That's right. Any others?
Does it still have the 1/3 stipulation like the legacy gifts?
We didn't address that, but I would say common sense would probably say yes. Because the whole point is to give people 3 years to participate in this program. So, yes, I'd say a third would be more. Well,
The kitchen appliances, were they not in the original plan?
they were.
But their cost on
Yeah.
all receiving what we actually paid. And hey, I got my military this time.
Any others? Mr. Moderator?
No questions.
I have a suggestion.
We have a suggestion. They're always welcome.
Some of us seniors need to be people to speak up a little bit because our hearing is impaired.
Ma'am, it's not that your hearing is impaired, it's this microphone is way too far from the average person.
This.
Yes, ma'am. I am happy to say, however, that the trash can on the right side of the door, as soon as you walk into the new fellowship center, has been claimed by Jason and Sarah Lynn, that you may not get that $25 back. My wife is fully unaware of any of that. We do have some other committees that are here tonight. I know we've got some time set aside for budget and finance because it's that time of year. Would you like to come and give us some words of wisdom firmly? Please. All right, I'm going to sit down.
I can do what you need.
What's this? What's it?
I have notes just in case.
Okay.
Paula completed the September financials today, as a matter of fact. So these are hot off the press. Just to give you a quick down and dirty of where we are. General fund contributions to the budget are a little short of the budget. However, if you include the contributions for the Family Life Center, for the month, we are, actually let me back up, for the year, we are just a little under $5,000 short of the budget. So that is absolutely wonderful, because if you recall, we added $20,000 into the budget for debt service for this year. So we're basically making the budget, making the payment, even though we haven't had to start making the payment yet. So that is absolutely wonderful. Through the month of September, our revenues have exceeded our expenditures by $57,600. So for the year, we're doing very well. Again, bear in mind, $20,000 or $15,000 of that is because we haven't been making the payment yet on the building. And thus far, we've been able to cash flow everything that you see out there we've paid for. We've already paid for the appliances. So we have not had to tap into the construction loan as of today. And I have an invoice to pay, and we have sufficient funds to satisfy that one as well. So thus far, we are still debt-free as far as actually tapping into the construction loan. So we've had no interest expense thus far. Obviously, our expenditures are down this year because of the ministries that we have not been able to complete, which has also attributed to the bottom line. But all in all, I think we're doing very well financially, and we certainly appreciate your continued gifts through all of this COVID stuff that we're going through. It's not having services and not having the number of people here that we typically do have, that you have been faithful to continue with your offerings to the church, and we most appreciate it. Anybody have any questions regarding finance? Thank you.
Do you have any update on the 2021 budget cycle?
We anticipate starting the 2021 budget process in earnest right after homecoming. If you will, please, if you're responsible or on any committee that does have a budget line item, please complete that budget request form and get that back to me or any member of the committee. As of now, I have not received a single one. So those are very helpful to know what you have planned for the coming year, so that we can effectively support you with the budget. So if you'll please get those filled out and get those to us, we would appreciate it. Thank you.
Budget forms, where do they get those? On the table behind us?
They were emailed out to many people, but they're on the table outside the office.
All right, so if you didn't get one in your email, it's your fault. However, there are several copies on the table over here in front of the office. So if you have questions on that, Furman is always happy to take all of your questions, and he has all the time in the world to do that until 8 o'clock sharp when choir practice starts. Further committees, I know we got some more folks here, we got some updates. Who else is with us today that has an update?
I'm not committed, but while we're talking about money. Okay, we had 300 leaves to sell, and our goal was to sell those 300 in a 3-year period. We'll give yourself a hand. We get the right number. But we only have 75 left. And remember, we're sending out a lot of information for the next couple of weeks on things that you can contribute to it. And we are encouraging people to buy these because we want your name on the tree of life. So if you haven't purchased one, please see me. I'll be glad to get you one. Remember, there are only 75 left. Okay? Let's see if we can't reach our goal and sell those 75 by the end of 2020. Okay? Thank you.
Other committees? That's all we got?
Jason, I'll
pass it, you're going to enjoy ungodly amounts of homemade food. It'll still be updated for you to see some new things featuring a number of different ministries and features in the life of the church. So we hope that once they have that completed next week, that you'll take some time, stop by and enjoy that and display it.
Further questions, comments? I have an announcement to make. October is Pastor Appreciation Month. So as you're able, don't tell them we're going to do this. Cards, recommendations, thank yous, no hugs, handshakes, if it's okay, but do give some time to your pastor, because the hours, the days, the times, the goods, the bads, that's what he stands here for every single day. So let's make sure that we individually, as we can, thank him for what he does. I hope you're turning red. Yes, ma'am.
I'm having a plaque prepared for one of our pastor's favorite quotes.
Okay.
That it's sometimes a joy to go home to a bin full of barking dogs.
I love it. Put that in the minutes. I think that's a good one to have. Folks, I have nothing else. If you have nothing else, are there any announcements that you may have? A couple of follow-ups. The first one is, remember, our budget cycle has started. We're asking for those to be turned in the week of homecoming. I think that's the 18th. Please make sure you've got those turned in. If you have any questions, ask Furman or any member of the committee or myself will be glad to help you fill them out. If you need to know what last year's amount was, you can look on the piece of paper you just got from tonight. It should say on column number 4 what the amount was for that line item. If you have questions on what the spending is for the individual line item that you may have, just give us a call. We can get you a copy of what you spent and where that money went to. Number 2, don't forget, we do have our homecoming activity coming up. We do have a bunch of paperwork coming out to you. Please read it in earnest. The brochure, by the way, it looks, I cheated. I couldn't help it. It looks fantastic. There are no pictures of me in there. Thank you very much for that. But it looks very, very nice. The committee's done a fantastic job, and I'm sure that it will be a hit. If there's no other announcements from the group and no other dates that we need to know of, without objection, we should stand adjourned. Any objection to adjourn? I was trying, y'all. I was trying. Sorry, Reverend.
He was just trying to express pastor appreciation by letting me go
on 10 minutes early. So if you've got your pastor's report here, that was one of the documents. If you did get one on the way in there here, you just feel free to pick this up. If you'll go to page 3, flip over to page 3, the first 2 pages I always include. They are kind of a breakdown of our mission statement. They remind us of our vision and our identity here at Neals Creek and what we are all about. But if you go to page 3, you'll see kind of a breakdown of the church goals for 2020 and an update of things that we have done as a part of each of those goals. So I'm not going to take the time to read over each one of those things or go through all of those in detail, but I would like for you, as you have time, to review that, kind of get an update, of course, with the many of the adaptations that we've had to make this year. Some of those goals kind of got a little changed, and we had to do the best we could do under the circumstances, and that's what we've all done throughout 2020. But that gives you a little bit of an update of how we've tried to carry out each of those things, and we'll continue to do more of that in the final quarter. Right down there at the bottom little quarter of page 3, you see our membership numbers. So we have had 2 new members to join in the third quarter. That should say reviewing the third quarter. We're starting the fourth quarter. But we had 2 members. That's Chris and Samantha Baker, who joined by baptism. We've had 3 members, with Kaylin Tyson being the other one who has joined us this year. So that's 2020 to date. And then we have had 2 members who have passed away in the third quarter. That would be Carrie Stewart and then Miss Romaine Gregory today. Turning over to page 4, you will see worship calendar for the next few months. After homecoming, I will be starting a sermon series on the life of David. It'll be very similar to the series that we did earlier this year on the life of Peter. So it'll be kind of a character study. Because we only have about 4 weeks to engage in that, we're not going to go super in-depth with David's life. We're just going to be looking at some high points and some low points. So some major kind of summary moments that teach us from David's life and his example. On the 22nd of November, of course, we will celebrate, that will be Sunday before Thanksgiving. So we'll celebrate kind of a Thanksgiving themed service that morning. And then that evening, we are still planning to do a community Thanksgiving service. We are working on the location for that, but just assume that we will at 7 o'clock that evening have a community Thanksgiving service at one of our churches in the community. And that'll also be offered with online through a live stream if you prefer to participate that way. The 29th, so the last Sunday of November, we will do our Hanging of the Green service, and we're going to do that in the morning this year. And then after that, we will be into the season of Advent throughout December. And so we look forward to that. We do plan to do our traditional Christmas Eve service at some point. Probably, normally we do that around 9 o'clock on Christmas Eve. But we're planning to continue with that as we are able. Keys for moving forward. These are some things that I have encouraged our staff with all throughout 2020, ever since we started having to deal with the COVID situation. I think they are just great things for us to keep in mind as we continue to kind of adapt and move forward and what we call the new normal for church. So that's good communication, discerning and adapting to needs as they arise, having a plan, but then also remaining flexible. Have to do both of those. Have a plan, but then also hold it loosely. Next, be patient and be a non-anxious presence. So, understand that sometimes how we react to things has a lot to do with the ultimate outcome. And that goes right back to the devotion that I started with tonight from Matthew 6. And then finally, what is God trying to teach us as the church as we go through these things and experience these things? We should be learning some things and be walking away with hopefully growing through all of these things in life. Nothing that we go through is meant to be wasted, whether it's frustrating, painful, uncomfortable. It all has a purpose in God's plan. He may not have caused it. He may not have even orchestrated it or set it up, but God still has a purpose for it, and we can learn through it. The last page there on page 5, you will see some prayer emphases that I want to lift up to you. And there are 7, and I'll just quickly go over those. First is for the Family Life Center construction and the Magnify Faith Promise campaign. And you've got some specific things there under that you can pray for. Second is for our ministerial staff. This is the time of year that we do our annual staff evaluation. So if you are a member of the choir, if you are one of our deacons, or if you are on the Children or Youth Council, you should have a staff evaluation form, or if you're the choir, you'll be getting them tonight, and we want you to turn those back in and would want to have those back by homecoming Sunday, by the 18th, so that then the personnel committee can then sit down and we can evaluate and go over our staff with our staff one-on-one. Have these meetings to help them know where their strengths are, where there's some room for improvement, and continue to strive for excellence together as a church staff. So if you have one of those by email or hard copy, please be sure to give some time to that and get that back in by the 18th. And you can be praying, of course, individually for all of our staff members and for their various ministries. Third, we're going to pray for our church goals and pray that we would finish well in this fourth quarter of 2020. Pray for our Budget and Finance Committee as they are getting to work on our budget for next year. Pray for our nation, our elected officials, and this election coming up on November the 3rd. We want to remember Howard Penny in our prayers as he is running for this seat in the House of Representatives. Pray for the Supreme Court process and for the nominee, Judge Amy Barrett, and pray for clear results, conclusive results, honest election, and peace and stability for our country in the aftermath of November 3rd. And of course, I would add to that just for all of those in Washington, D.C. that are coming down with COVID, right? It's kind of spreading and having a time there, so we want to pray for that. Number 6, pray for continually for safety and wellness of our worship gatherings and our church activities. We've been very, very blessed that we have not had an incident that not had to close down for 2 weeks. That doesn't mean that we won't have to. It's happening in churches in our community. It may occur here, but right now we just thank God that everything has gone very well, and we want to continue to be vigilant in the things that we've been doing and not let our guard down, because it's still very real, still out there. And then finally, pray for our schools, teachers, parents, students, including our college students and administrators as they face continued challenges in education in this time of COVID. That's all I've got for pastor's report. Do you all have any questions for me? Mr. Lemons, I turn it back over to you to adjourn. Oh, one announcement. Baptist men, we will be meeting Sunday morning at 7:30 at our usual time, but it will not be here. It will be at Ladles of Love Kitchen down in Lillington. It's 301 South Main Street on Lillington, or if you need a landmark reference, it's right across from the liquor store. So. And thank you all for the wonderful donations for Baptist Children's Home. I meant to mention that also. We had a really, really good support for that. The youth finished boxing that stuff up, and we will be delivering that down to the Cameron Boys Camp within the next week. It may be first part of next week before I can get it down there. But you all really did an amazing job. We filled up 3 or 4 tables full of stuff, piled high with stuff. And so it's been great. I know that'll be a tremendous blessing. And we got a lot of gift cards in too. So it's been great.
Good report. Thank you, sir. Questions? Comments? At this point, I will consider us adjourned without objection, and we are. Thank you very much.